Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Fathers United podcast. I'm your host, Nate, and the purpose of this channel in general is just to give fathers a place to gather information, feel cared about, seen, respected, and that's what we do here at Fathers United. So, salute to all the fathers, single fathers, fathers in marriages. Doesn't matter if you got kids and you do what you're supposed to do, this channel is for you. So this podcast is supposed to be a weekly thing, but life has gotten very crazy for me. So I want to apologize because it's been about a month since I've recorded an episode. Well, a month since I've uploaded an episode. I recorded it. One file got corrupted. The other one got deleted. And just I'm trying to get everything right, but I've been trying to at least do the daily dad jokes and keep the monthly analyzing fathers coming out so the channel can still have some sort of traffic coming. But this is supposed to be a weekly thing, and as soon as I'm able to, I will get back to doing that. So as per usual, we're going to start with the father of the week, and this week we have this one says, "This dad who knew his daughter would go far. When Brianna Martin graduated from high school, her dad presented her with a pretty amazing gift. He didn't just pick it up at the gas station on the way to school. Instead, it was a gift he'd been planning ever since his daughter was in kindergarten. For 13 years, Brianna's dad, Martin, had been using his daughter's teachers to sign the book at the end of the academic year." Talk about a thoroughly amazing gift, Brianna said. "Sitting there reading through this book with the encouragement and sweet words from every teacher I love and remember through my years in a small town. My early teachers mentioned my pigtails and giggles, while my high school teachers mentioned my wit and sharp thinking. But they all mentioned my humor and love for life. It is astounding to receive something this moving, touching, nostalgic, and thoughtful. I can't express how much I love my dad for this labor of love." I'm kind of upset because unless his name is Martin, because her last name is Martin, so I guess maybe this dude's name is Martin. So it doesn't have your name here, my guy. I'm very disappointed. I'm very sorry for that. That is a really good idea, though. I kind of wish I thought of that to do that for my daughter, 'cause she's in third grade right now, so I would have had like two teachers sign it already. One of her teachers retired, so maybe I'll start this year, because I can't find a retired teacher. But that is a really fucking cool ass idea. I did for my daughter. Me and her mother made an email for her, and we email her random pictures and life lessons and stories periodically. And on her 18th birthday, we're gonna give her the email and the password so she can read through and like just kind of see. So it's been 8 years. She'll be 9, so it's been 8 years that we've been doing this so far. And sometimes I'll go a couple of months without sending something. Sometimes I'll send her an email every day. It's so random, but it'll be filled with like years of all kind of things, and I just kind of express myself to her and talk to her. I think that's a really cool thing. So shout out to you, Martin, Fathers United. You're the dad of the week. Salute. Honk, honk, honk. Sound effects, fireworks, bliggity, 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 bliggity. Boom. So today, as you can tell from the thumbnail, the subject is marriage versus cohabitation. My personal experience, I've never been married, but my sister is divorced. I really probably have like 2 people in my family that are married still. And I know probably one really long-term married couple, and my best friend's parents. Well, her brother, I guess, are married too, so I guess that counts. But I've cohabitated before, and it is, for some people it works, for some people it doesn't, and I guess I'll kind of leave it at that because I don't have anything to compare it to because I've never been married. So we're just going to get right into this article. Pros and cons of marriage and cohabitation. Marriage and cohabitation relationships have been the topic of discussion for decades. While marriage has traditionally been the norm in most cultures, cohabitation has become increasingly popular in recent years. In this article, we will explore the pros and cons of both types of relationships and examine the reasons for their popularity. Marriage is a legally binding union between 2 people that the government recognizes. It is often considered a formal and traditional way to commit to a relationship. The benefits of marriage include legal rights and protections such as inheritance, property ownership, and healthcare decision-making. Additionally, marriage can provide stability and security for both partners. Studies have shown that married couples tend to have better physical and mental health, and they also tend to live longer. I'd like to see some of those statistics. don't have a lot of married people to go off of, and so many people are, overweight nowadays. I don't really think that my judgment is fair on that. So I'm gonna keep my opinions to myself on that one. However, marriage also has its downsides. One of the biggest cons is the high divorce rate. According to the American Psychological Association, the divorce rate in the United States is around 40 to 50%. Jesus Christ, bro. 40 to 50%? God damn. That is no point in getting married if that. I mean, Jesus, like half is better. I don't know, dude. That's wild. This can lead to emotional distress and financial strain for both partners. Additionally, marriage can also be restrictive and limit personal freedom. Some couples may feel constrained by the expectations and obligations that come with marriage. I guess love, like, would be the biggest reason to go against that 40 to 50% because fuck, dude, half. I mean, in most things, those are good odds, I guess. But like marriage, though, I don't know about that one, bro. Like that's a huge L to take if you fucking get divorced. Cohabitation, on the other hand, is a type of relationship in which two people live together without being married. It has become increasingly popular in recent years, particularly among younger generations. The benefits of cohabitation include more flexibility and freedom and the ability to test the waters before committing to marriage. Cohabitation can also be less expensive than marriage as there are no legal fees or costs associated with getting married. So it kind of seemed like the biggest difference so far is that the government recognizes it and don't nobody give a fuck about the government. So who cares, right? And then I'm pretty sure, what is it, common law or something like that? Like you live with somebody for 7 or more years, or you guys are in a relationship for 10 years or something like that, then you're legally considered married anyway. So it's really just to spend a bunch of money. Like I could take that 40,000 and we could do something crazy with it, Because 40,000. One of the marriages I know was like $40,000. I was like, that is fucking crazy. They're cool. They had like a house and good jobs and shit, but $40,000. Some people make that in a year, and y'all just like threw it away on a wedding. That's crazy to me. However, cohabitation also has its downsides. One major disadvantage is that cohabiting couples don't have the same legal rights and protections as married couples. For example, if one partner dies or becomes incapacitated, the other partner may not have the legal authority to make healthcare decisions and inherit property. Also, cohabitation can be less stable than marriage, as it is often easier to end the relationship. I think that's the point, though. Nobody wants to go through costly divorces and you take half and, I think that might be the point of it all, honestly. The popularity of marriage and cohabitation can be attributed to various factors. One major factor is the changing cultural attitudes towards relationships. In the past, marriage was seen as a necessary, but today, many people view it as an optional choice. Additionally, the rise of cohabitation can also be attributed to women's increased financial and social independence, as well as the changing attitudes towards premarital sex. Ultimately, the choice between marriage and cohabitation is a personal one that should be based on individuals' preferences and circumstances. So, I will agree. A lot of people got married back in the day because a lot of women, especially, because they didn't have no choice. That was like a bargaining chip in medieval times, and then they weren't allowed to work and all this stuff. And like, I don't have the statistic on hand, but I think like most marriages are initiated by the woman. And that kind of makes sense with what they just said. Increased financial and social independence. It's like, I don't have to sit here and take whatever it is from you, or I can go get better, or, and that attitude goes for both parties. But overall, the differences seem to be slim per this article right here. So I would just say, like they said, it's really up to the individual. I would rather cohabitate than be married. I have no interest in being married. I have no interest in going through that type of ceremony or anything like that. If anything, maybe, go down to the courthouse and do a courthouse marriage. Like, I don't really have a want or a need to have a huge ceremony and confess my love in front of our families. Like, if we're together, we're doing that all the time anyway. That's not really necessary in my eyes. But, I'm also single, so who knows? So this next article is a little bit more different. And this is where we start to get to the effects of cohabitation on children, because now while we know a good healthy marriage provides really stability for families, The children tend to end up better in all ways. Like I didn't feel like we needed to break any of that down because that's well known, common knowledge. For the most part, that ideal situation for raising children is marriage, living in the same home, being in a loving house, with the mother and the father and things like that. So we'll take this time to discuss the effects of cohabitation on children. So we can, because I've been in that situation with my daughter's mother where we weren't together, but we were just, through circumstances forced to live together for a certain amount of time, and our daughter was there, and how essentially we just kind of divided the place up, really, and we agreed to never try to keep each other away from our daughter. We like set ground rules, don't have anybody around our daughter, don't bring anybody to the house, and we just will do what we have to do for our daughter because it's better for her to see a happy, healthy thing than anything else. Now, it worked and it didn't. It worked because our daughter was happy and she remembers that time fondly. But it didn't work because jealousy naturally brews. Who you talking to? What's going on in your phone? And I see you every day. I live here. You're wearing your comfortable home clothes, so you walking by me in booty shorts, I smack you on the ass. Things like that. It's like natural human shit. And it does happen. That caused drama, which, accelerated the moving out process for me. It was like, okay, well, it would be better if I just got on. Now, that's not to say that would be everybody's experience because, the next person might be able to handle it differently. Certain people, I can't speak on it. That's just my personal experience from cohabitating with my child is, in the long term, it didn't work out. So, effects of cohabitation on children. As the rate of cohabiting parents in the United States rapidly increases, the dynamic of cohabitating unions has simultaneously shifted. Cohabitors are more likely to have children together, less likely to eventually marry, and more likely to serial cohabitate. He made it sound so bad, serial cohabitate. Therefore, children born to cohabiting parents face a significant risk of instability throughout their life as they cope with their parents' relationship transitions. I would think that would be an obvious one. Number 1, instability of cohabiting unions. Cohabiting unions are less stable than marriage, and the presence of children further destabilizes cohabiting relationships. More stable cohabiting couples tend to marry around the time of their child's birth, whereas less stable unions remain as unmarried cohabiting partners. A recent analysis of data from 17 countries found that despite cohabiting becoming normative, cohabiting unions still provide less stability for children than marriage. That seems kind of obvious to me. Nothing really to say there, pretty straightforward. 2, children's health. Children living in cohabiting households are more likely to suffer from a variety of emotional and social problems, including drug use, depression, and dropping out of high school as compared to those in married homes. According to the Center for Disease Control, children in cohabiting families, whether both biological parents or only one biological parent in a union, are more likely to be without health insurance than children in single-parent families, step families, and married families. Children whose biological parents are cohabiting rather than marriage are also more likely than single-parent families, step-families, and marriage families to report good, fair, or poor health rather than very good or excellent health. That's kind of crazy because single-parent families means like just a mom or just a dad. So this is saying kids from cohabiting families are worse off than people in single-parent families. That's single households. That's kind of crazy. I would have to look into this CDC. I already don't trust the CDC anyway. This CDC thing. 2.1 related American demographics. So this is about the section we just spoke about, but just for the Americas. According to the 2001 cycle of the National Health Interview Survey, 4.7% of children in intact married families, 8.0% of children raised in remarried stepfamilies, and 8.6% of children living with a cohabitating parent have been diagnosed with ADHD. That's a significant raise. So it's 4.7 for people married. Then it goes from 4.7 to 8.0 for step families. And then it goes from 8.0 to 8.6 for people living with cohabitating parents that have ADHD. Though children living in single parent families were most likely to have been diagnosed with ADHD. Okay, and that's a 9.1%. So cohabitating is a small percentage away from the single parent statistic in that order. I think they just used ADHD because in general, I feel like everybody's getting diagnosed with that now, and that's not to shit on anybody or that have it or whatever, but it's like you can't focus a little bit. You have ADHD. Like maybe the kid just thinks this subject is fucking boring. Like there was an episode of King of the Hill where they diagnosed Bobby with ADHD because like the lesson was fucking boring, and it turned out the teacher was just trying to like get some numbers up or something for some program they had or something, and it was this whole thing. And I often wonder about that sometimes, like with the diagnosing of ADHD and shit like that. Like some people, like I've met people that like you've met somebody who's on the scale, and then you meet somebody who's just like saying it, and you're just like, I don't know. It just seems like you just might be a little off. 3. Education. Family instability, a trait of cohabiting families, was linked with lower task orientation and lower academic grades for adolescents. 3.1. Related American demographics to education. The National Longitudinal Survey of Youth shows that students from married, always intact families had an average GPA of 3.0. Students from intact cohabitating families had a 2.8. Married step families and divorced single parent families had a 2.7. Cohabitating step families had a 2.6. And always single parent families had a 2.5, had the lower GPAs than students from always intact families. I wonder if they've ever done anything to study why, because it's not like the love isn't there. Maybe the two-parent households are important, period, because, while I'm at work, mom is there, or while mom is at work, I'm there. Somebody is always there to love on this child and push this child to do something. You're in the same household. You and your wife have more conversations about this and that, the future. You more vibe. You click, you and your lady. Like, I can understand that. Cohabitating is kind of like, with my personal experience, it's like, we're just there together because it's cheaper, or because we're locked in on this lease, or because we have a child, or because one of us or both of us don't have anywhere else to go. So we're here, but we don't want to be. So that feeling of don't want to be, kids pick up on that shit, man. Like, kids pick up on that shit, and it will come back. And maybe perhaps that has something to do with the differences in the percentages. 4. Child abuse. Children raised in cohabitating families are particularly vulnerable to abuse. According to the 4th incidence study of child abuse and neglect, children raised by their cohabiting biological parent are 4.3 times more likely to suffer from physical abuse and 5 times more likely to experience sexual abuse as compared to children raised by their married biological parents. That's always a worry of mine, especially when it comes to my daughter, is that her mother will meet somebody and get with this individual, and this individual will touch my daughter in some way, and then I'm just going to be in jail. Or that it happens and that she doesn't feel like she can come to me and tell me. That's a big worry of mine. And so I'm sure it's a worry of a lot of individuals. And then even on the flip side of that, with my son's mother, same thing. Because I have friends, male friends, who have come forth and said, their stepdad did this, or older cousin, or, and it's just like, in general, there's some sick fucking people out here, and it just, death to molesters, bro. The most dangerous family structure for a child is a cohabiting family in which one of the parents is not the biological parents. The same survey stated that children raised with one biological parent and their non-biological cohabiting partner are 10.3 times more likely to suffer from physical abuse and 19.8 times more likely to experience sexual abuse as compared to children raised. That is a fucking huge number. I think until we as the human race can all agree across the board that people who do things to children deserve the worst punishments of all kind, the worst punishments we can put upon them, I don't think we'll ever really move forward as a race. Like that's the baseline in for me. Like, do you believe in protecting kids? All right, cool. We got something to build on. Because if you don't, you just... Number 5, poverty risk. Children raised in cohabiting families face an increased risk of falling into poverty. According to the 2015 Annual Social and Economic Supplement, 47.5% of children who live with their cohabiting parents are in poverty. This is partially because cohabiting couples lack relationship stability and material pooling. that married couples experience. So it's got some links here for the to cite their sources and things like that with some graphs also to represent. I can't show any of that, but I will try to link this article into the description so that you yourself can go and check it out. Though, so basically what Maripedia, because that's the website this came from, I don't know if I mentioned that already. Maripedia is saying that cohabitation can be done and it works for some people, but statistically speaking, it can lead to some negative things. But anything can lead to some negative things. Statistically speaking, I can walk outside right now and fucking die. Just die. I think some dude, some fucking philosopher back in the day died because like a bird dropped a turtle on his head or something. Like, just random stuff like that could happen. So it's really up to the individual. I will say that if you are a person who believes in marriage and tradition, I say go for it, because what a lot of people ignore and what I think society has done is try to destroy the traditional family and the traditional, marriage. Married couples build strong homes. Strong homes build strong neighborhoods. Strong neighborhoods build strong communities. Strong communities build a strong nation. Like, that's across the board, all over the world. Whether it be a small ass Wild West farm town that slowly grew and grew. It had one family, then two family, then 9 families, then 10 families. Now it's a town, and that town became a city. It started with a family. 2 people got together. They raised some kids. They fought with their neighbors against cattle herders. And I'm just getting off in a diatribe right now. But the fact still remains. It seems to me like the media is shitting on marriage and, traditional values and all of that. And even with, being a conservative or whatever what those people are. And it's just like when you listen to them talk, and the more level-headed ones, I'll say, they kind of just, I just want to be married and believe in God and love my country. I don't sound bad to me, bro. Like, go ahead and do that shit. If that's what you want to do, do it. But don't come talking about, well, this is the new way and this is how it's supposed to be and blah, blah, blah. I don't know why I did the head swing. I just like to do that sometimes. It adds comedic value to serious things. It's not for me to tell the next person how to live their life. If what you are doing does not harm others, it is not a harm to the innocent or a danger to anybody, enjoy, man. Cohabitation or marriage, I think after this little conversation that we've had, my personal experience, I haven't been married, but I've seen marriages that last, I've seen marriages that fall. It really is about what the individual desires, and we just need to be aware of the potential risks of both, I would say. As far as how could cohabitation affect my child, how could being married affect my child, how could us moving away from each other and the child, staying back and forth between us, sharing custody, how could that affect our child? Like, we as parents need to know that, and our duty as fathers is to, if that conversation isn't had, we need to initiate that conversation so that we can get to the bottom of things, so we can move forward with the best movement and goal that is for our child or children, because a lot of times there's more than one child involved. And so today, instead of the traditional single horror story, we're going to talk about deadbeat dads, because I hate deadbeat fucking dads. You give all fathers a bad name. So for today's horror story, we are going to talk about a dad who avoided child support. I'm just going to leave it at that, because I read this and good God. So I think it's a couple of them, but here we go. Deadbeat dad and proud. It's not easy to admit being a deadbeat dad, but Mr. Johnny Martin from South Carolina was an exception. Martin was notorious for refusing to pay $4,000 in child support for his 2 children. He even boasted about it, which was just overkill when everybody, including the ex-wife and children he actively not supported, already knew that. Why are you bragging about this, dude? Oh my God. In 1979, a family court judge ordered Dr. Martin to pay up or face jail time. He chose jail time. Nigga, what? While in jail, he served as an inmate worker and managed to escape while on duty. He then hatched a plan to convince the family court judge that he had died in a bar brawl and succeeded. Wow, this is not what I read. A more ambitious man would have devised a more intricate plan than a bar fight, but not Mr. Martin. Nevertheless, he succeeded in being dead until someone discovered that he was alive and well 26 years later. Bruh, this dude avoided child support by faking his death for 26 years. This man is the king of deadbeats. Johnny Martin. Good God. He was subsequently charged for escaping jail and dodging the child support, which was ordered to cough up $30,000 in retroactive payments. The deadbeat daddy worked hard to avoid paying for his children's education, and some would say that living under the radar for 26 years undetected is admirable. His ex-wife, however, worked harder. Going off on only a hunch, she alerted the sheriff's department about rumors that her ex was still alive. It turned out she was right, and after getting him caught for his misdeeds, Mr. Martin still wouldn't pay child support because he just didn't want to. So this one has two more, so I'm just gonna read them all because honestly, if it gets crazier than the first one, then that's just insane. The busy father, Mr. Randy Mainwaring, whichever, of Florida, was convicted of identity theft and bank fraud. He committed these crimes as part of his master plan to fake his own death. He was going through a high conflict divorce and a child custody battle that involved an attempt to burn down his ex-wife's house and plant drugs in her car. Wow. Some might argue that he was not a very nice man. Doesn't sound like something a nice person would do. In 2007, he set his plan in motion. His death fake out involved placing a fake obituary in the Oregon newspaper, the Register Guard. Interestingly, it appeared that he wasn't doing all these to avoid sending child support checks. Our guess is that he was simply a man who liked to keep himself busy. Needless to say, his attempt to fake his own death certainly did not help his child's custody battle, because he was arrested a month after his fake obituary was published. Well, all right, so one dude went 26 years off a bar fight. You did all these extras and you didn't make it a month. So, but then the other guy was in like 1970 something. Technology was crap back then. What's more legally binding than a fake obituary? A fake death certificate. Another inventive and wrong way to get away with not paying child support and student loans is to fake one's death certificate, as is the case of Alan Kirk Wolford from Colorado. I feel you on them student loans, bro. I don't want to pay him back either. Mr. Wolford had wanted to apply for a home loan, but because he owed $42,000 in back child support payments and $7,000 in student loans, banks wouldn't approve his loan application. Of course, my guy. That's a lot of child support. Not getting approved for a loan because you've incurred huge debts under your name is quite the conundrum indeed. Incidentally, Mr. Wolford worked as an embalmer in the funeral home. So he knows his way around cadavers, cremation, death certificates, and all things death related. Having seen a death certificate many times in his lifetime, he forged his own death certificate so he could live a debt-free existence. Contrary to what he hoped for, he got charged with felony forgery and got fired from his job, which was terrible news. The good news is that he's undeniably alive. Yeah, no, they got dumber after the first one. The first one should have been last because this guy's an idiot. I don't know why you thought. Anyway, pay your child support, bro. Like, don't go out like that. Don't go out like a sucker. Dude here for 26 years, man. If I was his son, I'd beat my daddy up. Like, bro, you gotta get down. You got me fucked up. You vanished on moms for 26 years out here living your best life. You ain't going to jail. You finna catch these hands. So, thanks for tuning in. Like I said, I'm gonna get back to trying to do these every week. Like, subscribe, follow, check out my other content. Working on getting more varied content so I could get different daily posts and things like that. It's just taking a little bit more time than usual, but I do thank everybody for the support so far. The next episode, we are going to discuss why the emphasis on I'm a single mom and what that has to do with you.